All right, so it's 1 minute past 1. Good afternoon, everyone. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Khalid AlAwar from the Dubai Future Foundation, and I will be your moderator for this afternoon in the first session of the UEP Talks. The UEP Talks is a monthly talk series that aims to bring together inspirational entrepreneurs to share their insights and stories, inspire and impact our young entrepreneurs through one-to-one interviews, talks, panel discussions, and more interactive webinars and virtual sessions. Before I start introducing our guest for this afternoon, I would like to give a short introduction about the UEP itself and what does UEP stands for. So UEP is the University Entrepreneurship Program. It's an initiative that aims at achieving the goals of the 50-year Charter's 6th article announced by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum in creating economic and creative free zones in universities that allow students to carry out innovative businesses and creative activities, and ultimately allow universities to graduate not just students, but successful entrepreneurs. The first guest of the UEP Talk series today will be Khalid AlAwar. Good afternoon, Khalid. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. It's such a pleasure to be here speaking.
Pleasure to have you with us, Khalid. I'll start with a short bio about yourself. First of all, thank you for being with us, and thanks for all our attendees who continue to increase, mashallah. So Khalid AlAwar is an entrepreneur from the United Arab Emirates. He comes from a technical background, specifically in computer engineering. Khalid established his entrepreneurial experience by developing smartphone applications that got more than 1.5 million downloads. He also went through and co-founded a software as a service company called Mabani. In addition to that, Khalid supported his background in entrepreneurship and specifically in tech entrepreneurship by enrolling to programs in Silicon Valley and pursuing a master's degree in business, entrepreneurship, and technology at the University of Waterloo. Khalid also worked in Astro Labs, where he played a role in boosting the tech ecosystem in the UAE and in the region. Good afternoon again, Khalid.
Thank you for the wonderful bio. You did your research, seems.
Absolutely, great bio and great background, mashallah, Khalid. So I'll start with the bio itself. Aside of what I mentioned, Khalid, what would you like us to know more about yourself? Please tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, your personal background, a little bit of your entrepreneurial journey.
So I'd like to start that. I've been a tech enthusiast by trade, like to get my hands dirty since I was really young, always fascinated by technology, computers, what you can do. And I think that's this field itself is very interesting in the way that you only need your laptop or your computer, and then you can just engage with yourself. Then computer engineering, studying computer engineering was not a difficult choice. I always knew what I wanted to do. It was kind of inherent and automatic choice that I just made. So I studied computer engineering in Khalifa University. Wonderful years. I got to dive deep into the tech. Now that's coming about. There's something that comes with developing the tech itself and then resonating and building companies or creating businesses in order to benefit the rest of society. And I think that was the whole Kickstarter and the motivation for me to continue working. First of all, I worked in the government, and then I decided hey, I can create a lot more, and it fits my personality to create companies and start with the entrepreneurship path in order to fulfill my career.
That's a great starter, Khalid. I'll take that point specifically. You graduated as a computer engineer, and then, as you said, you found your passion at a certain, I would say, tipping point, as they call it. So how did you discover this passion in entrepreneurship, and how did you decide to start this journey and step out of the, I would say, the normal path or the normal journey of a computer engineer?
Now, you see, everybody thinks like a journey is like from point A to point B, it's a straight line. It was never the case. I didn't know that I want to be an entrepreneur. I didn't specifically know how to be an entrepreneur or what is entrepreneurship beginningly. But I'd have to say there are certain people throughout your lifetime that are going to inspire you. And I think that is exactly what happened. Mark Zuckerberg, for example, his success story inspired me. Steve Jobs and what he created also inspired me. So I was looking up to being like them. Did I know that entrepreneurship was the path to be like them at the beginning? No. But as you research more, as you try to learn more, read into their biographies, etc., then you understand, hey, well, there's this thing called the Silicon Valley. Hey, the Silicon Valley is the technology hub where great companies are being created in order to serve mankind. And I'd say that was kind of the tipping point. But if you want an exact date, an exact one that is really the point where you would actually see where that was the tipping point, it was my trip to the Silicon Valley in the 2016. Now, I worked in a whole different sector. I worked as a data analyst. However, that being there in the Silicon Valley and the San Francisco Bay Area just showed me the level of technology that's being played over there. And just getting exposed to that, it clicked, it sort of clicked.
Was that the time where you started your first, and I would say, entrepreneurial journey with the Mabani application?
So coming back from there, yes, that was the start of Mabani. Yeah, I came back inspired by all this tech, and actually, since the majority of the attendees here are university students, I'm going to share one of my experiences at the last year of university. So we had this kind of the graduation project, or sort of the capstone project toward the end of the senior year. And I was very keen, and I also told my group members, hey, I'm going to create something that is not just for the sake of just graduating or passing the course or getting an academic grade or degree. No, I want to create something that is going to evolve to be a business, something that is, I can create a company from it, something that is going to allow me to reach my end goal.
And this was around 2015, I assume 2014.
No, that was actually Mabani was started at 2017. So I think what started at 2014 was actually the Karam app. Okay. The Karam game. So if maybe I can show something here. Yeah, so I was into programming and like computer engineering, yes, programming, but they, so can you see my screen here? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So I developed, by 2014, I published the Karam app, and it was exported to both the, let's say the Apple iOS store and the Android Google store. Now, fortunately, this was the early years of mobile applications, and it's just like skyrocketed in terms of growth. It was downloaded. I did not expect this. So if I want to say, up until now, it has like 1.5 million downloads. But the thing is, and this was a really critical point in terms of my own experience and my key learnings. Although it got that number of downloads, you would expect the monetization to be somewhat fruitful. That was not the case. And because like creating, as an engineer, I tend to create things. But do I know that it is going to be sustainable? Is it going to create value? Is it now that's the other question that is always coming into mind. And that's when I moved to entrepreneurship, I focused on that part, the business skills that comes to it. I know that maybe my personal experience comes from a tech background, but I was really lacking in terms of business skills. And that's where I spent, let's say, from 2017 to 2020 building up.
That's a great segue to my next question, Khalid. And that's why I asked you a question on when did this start? And my next question is about the biggest challenges that you faced in this journey. And I believe that your type of journey in entrepreneurship is kind of specific to the technology. And most of our students and entrepreneurs today, they want to try to pursue something along that way. And hopefully the UEP program is aiming to achieve that. So at the time that you started your journey, what were the biggest challenges that you faced and overcame? And what are the biggest challenges that you are still facing now?
Yeah, so the biggest challenges would come down to, okay, you have a very ambitious goal. Let's say you want to create the next Microsoft, the next Apple, or next Facebook, or you're inspired by them. But I had no idea like how to start, where to go to. And you try to do a simple Google search or like attend to a library or just look at Instagram or any of the social media. And what I faced was information overload. There's an overload of information everywhere, but like, how do I take it and how do I implement it? And I'd say there was no easy answer for me. It's just like try your best, trial and error. But it's important also to try to do somewhat of an educated trial and error. One of the things that I'm really grateful for is kind of having mentors, people leading the way. There's a lot of incubators and accelerators here in the UAE, such as Shira is known in Sharjah, and you got Dubai SME, Dubai Future Foundation right now with Area 2071, which I am a member of, by the way. So thank you guys. Kind of leading the way, but inevitably you need to take the experience yourself. One needs to take the experience by themselves. And if I want to note it down into more of not the personal side, but the business side, I'd say taking money out of a customer's pocket is one of the most difficult jobs an entrepreneur has to do, whether it's by creating the right product or having the right marketing and sales skills to kind of extract it.
Absolutely. Khalid, you mentioned two important points. One is the support that we have here in the UAE with the incubators and accelerators. And the other point is the effort that you've done individually where you stepped out of your comfort zone and went and discovered and looked at what's happening globally and around the world. So what's your advice to young entrepreneurs today to do both and to balance between both, receiving the support and also stepping out of their comfort zone and taking the initiatives by their own?
So there's a great quote that I tend to live by in the beginning of your journey. Like be keen on getting as many mentors as you can and have many sessions with them as much as you can. But then you need to do some practice and put it into action to get the hands-on experience, because whatever anybody tells you theoretically, if you don't move it into action and get this feedback loop, the learning and the knowledge is not going to be instilled. but I would still press on having mentors. Like look at a person. Okay, let's say, hey, I want to be like Mark Zuckerberg, but can I get to Mark Zuckerberg and get him to be my mentor? Maybe not. But let me get somebody that is, let's say, 5 years, 10 years ahead of me, and kind of have them as mentors in the journey that I want to take. But getting out of the comfort zone is actually applying these, let's say, advice or guidance that is given by mentorship. Mentors, incubators, accelerators cannot get the work done for you. They can guide you and enlighten you and expose you to the key trends.
Definitely. Khalid, you mentioned your exposure to programs and initiatives in Silicon Valley and also your master's degree in the United States. My question is, and now definitely we have participants and attendees from around the world and also more here in the UAE, and I think nowadays it's easier to get exposure to global initiatives and programs. So what were your main takeaways out of this experience? And what do you think should happen more here by young entrepreneurs to try to mimic or try to excel in the same practice that's happening over there?
So I'd say both in technology hubs and in innovation hubs, there are what you will see and what you'll get exposed to. At least this is from my personal experience staying there in the Silicon Valley for 5 months and living a year in Waterloo. These technology hubs kind of have an ecosystem that you can just sense it just by being over there, and you'll get exposed to the latest technology, the mindsets of and the dedication of how people work in entrepreneurship and startups. I'd say one of the key differentiators, the word entrepreneurship over here might not have been famous a couple of years ago. Right now, it is picking up. The culture is adhering to it. And this is becoming better and better each day. Going to these technology hubs, you will see that these things are intrinsic within, for example, the Silicon Valley has been there since the 60s, where besides University of Stanford University, venture capitalists were there, entrepreneurs, technologists, and they were creating big things for the whole world. Seeing that is just give you an exposition to the ecosystem. And actually, if I have a chance, maybe I can come up with something that is shareable. Looking at an ecosystem, if we're going to look at an ecosystem, it consists, each technology or innovation ecosystem consists of 6 things mainly. It is the regulations that are put by the government and the catalysts, and then universities and academics that actually push in the new knowledge, the research centers, etc. Now, the human capitals, which are the skills that are adherent to make the startups or companies have the necessary skills, whether it was building the technology or selling or having the salespeople, marketing, etc. Of course, legal goes hand in hand with that. Financing is about the investment that is available for entrepreneurs to get this financing to kickstart and build a company. But the last thing that I am keen to shed light on is the culture. Now, culture is not something that one can start or just like boost. It would take time. Like, it's something that is intangible. Like, you cannot just like put it there, or it just takes time, and it's very organic.
Interesting. I'm looking at the questions that are coming through the chat and the Q&A, and it reminds me of one point that I wanted to also highlight, Khalid. Uh, as you said, your background is in app development, and I think many people want to know a little about your experience there after the games applications and the Mabani application as well, if you can elaborate on that. One question is about how long did it take you to develop the app before you receive the download? So I think people are trying to draw a correlation between the time invested and the outcome in the app development world.
Yeah, so let me speak about the Karam app. I think when you say between the downloads and the it took me approximately 6 months to develop it. And but these 6 months were kind of on the side. It's like a side hustle, and but definitely a dedication of 4 hours a day approximately. Now, I don't remember the details because I did not document it. But actually, the downloads did not happen overnight. No, it took like 2 years to reach that number of downloads. But nevertheless, I would say getting downloads in this time is different than back in 2014, 2015. There's right now, like there's a saturation of applications on the App Store, and we live in an attention economy, and it's really becoming more scarcer to take kind of someone's attention. And when it comes to Mabani, that was at another phase. That was in 2018. Now, I have built up a lot of skill sets along the way. Now, one might say, hey, 3 years is not that big of a difference, but actually it's a lot when you acquire a skill, especially early on in your career. Now, that went through a much better methodology. I was well equipped to a certain degree with the process of software development, about the phases of software development. Like the way Karam happened is like, let me develop all of it with all the features that I want and then just push it out to the market. And taking like 6 months to develop an app in this time is way late. Like competition is faster than you. So the new methodology about software development is kind of the agile software development, where you just do the MVP, the minimal list of requirements that is needed to get to the end customer. And then you kind of iterate, take the feedback, and then develop again and again. So it is always an iterative process that goes again and again and again, rather than just using the, they call it the waterfall method, where you just develop everything all at once and just publish it, which can also be very expensive.
Indeed. Khalid, you mentioned a point on the idea of the applications. I think that's a cornerstone in any product that you develop. So when you think about the gaming applications or the Mabani application, when this idea came to you at the time, how did it come through? How did you find your niche? What kind of thought process did you go through? Do you think right now, the playground, I mean, the app playground is much harder, is more challenging for people to pursue?
All right. So let me differentiate one thing. Let's say an app is not a business. An app is just kind of a product that is available. I'd say although there is saturation in the apps side of things, however, I don't know a better time, and like I've spoken to really experts in the field, and they say that there's no better times for entrepreneurs because of globalization, because of the availability of funds, because of the maturity of culture that is happening right now along the world now. So let me, I'll share this fact. And this was a mind-blowing fact when I heard it. Back when I was in the Silicon Valley, in April 2019, I was sitting and hearing this talk by the presenter, and what he presented is 30 years ago, 90% of the technology of the world was in the Silicon Valley. And coming to this date and this year, it's 50% between Silicon Valley and 50% between the rest of the world. We can see the huge shift, which is showing that more technology hubs are coming up and around in every part of the world. So definitely, and we can see also the government initiatives here in the UAE, and it speaks for itself. And Dubai Future Foundation is also coming up with a lot of initiatives. I'm sure you know more about that than me.
Absolutely. Great insight, Khalid. I'm going to jump to different kind of questions now. Interesting, rich journey, mashallah. Where do you see yourself in the future as an entrepreneur, as a tech entrepreneur? I would say as a computer engineer with a tech background that you have.
Yeah, so I went through, like I said, the journey is never a straight line. It has a lot of zigzags. One of the things that I think I discovered, and this is only for myself, I have a huge passion for technology. I was invested in technology up until 2017, and then I became very interested in entrepreneurship. The business skills, like I said, for example, I developed the Karam app. It got a lot of downloads. Okay, this might say it's a good product, but was I able to get money out of it? Kind of reach the sustainability factor of it? Not really, which showed me that I need to learn. And learning is an ongoing journey. I still learn to this day. So I invested in entrepreneurship up until 2020, like until the beginning of this year, when I got the insight that I see myself as a technology entrepreneur, to be specific, where I will invest in technology, upskilling myself in technology to be a great tech entrepreneur in the years to come. The founder of Kareem, Muzaffar, I think his name was, I was reading, I was listening to an interview he had, and one of the things that he shed light upon is that here in the region, there's a lot of opportunity for tech talent. And that's why, since it's not yet saturated, that's where I will invest myself in. And lately, I've been investing in data science and machine learning to be at the frontiers of artificial intelligence. And if you can see, great companies are always built on strong tech. So I see myself as a Kickstarter with the tech pillar within the entrepreneurship ecosystem.
I'm sorry, my microphone was on mute. Very interesting, Khalid, very interesting answer. Before we jump into the last part of our session, which is the audience Q&A, I just want to ask one last question, or two last questions, actually. I think you just highlighted some of the new projects, new plans that you have for the future. If you want to also elaborate on that, and to conclude, if there is any inspirational quote that you live by or that inspires your career and your entrepreneurial journey.
I'd say my future goals in the short term. In the long term, I am there, and this is my motto, is I dedicated myself to boosting the UAE's technology ecosystem. And when it comes with regards to an inspirational quote, I'll not say that I have a specific one, but something that I do live by is kind of have no regrets, especially if you are young. get the most experiences that you can. Just like try out stuff, learn, be open to learning, and just have no regrets. And yeah, keep that your motto. And in the end, if anybody wants to reach out to me, wants to share his business idea, like how to develop an app with regards to marketing and how to get your, let's say, platform or an app to the end consumer, I'd be happy to help. I don't know how you can reach me, if my email can be shared, or on Instagram, you can follow me at Khalid AlAwar 1, just like direct message me or something. Yeah. Actually, I'll put it in the chat, if that's okay.
Great. Thank you, Khalid. Very inspirational. And I just want to move to the Q&A part, and then looking at a couple of questions from our audience. And one question is actually what you just mentioned about reaching out to entrepreneurs. The goal of one of the goals of these sessions is to bring together entrepreneurs and inspirational role models from the UAE community and also the region and hopefully the world. One question that came to us, it's kind of a long question, but I think the essence of it is that in the beginning of any business or an entrepreneurial journey, people try to step out and build a network. And sometimes it's hard to build relationships from scratch, and in particular business relationships in a startup community. So what are your thoughts on that, and how did you overcome this challenge in the beginning?
So you remember my point on culture, and one of the main pillars of the culture of entrepreneurship is the openness. I think entrepreneurs in essence are they are very open. Entrepreneurs like to be approached by fellow entrepreneurs, by people interested in the subject. That is something that I think is very open. And many people are willing to help. Just don't be afraid to ask. Show interest, of course, like be respectful, be dedicated, and yes, like I know a lot of people that are willing to help out. And of course, if you reach out to the local incubators, the local accelerators, I've had really great experiences with them. I think I passed in all the entrepreneurship centers and interacted with them here in the UAE, maybe except DTech. I don't think I interacted with DTech, but I interacted with all of them and they're all great. But definitely don't be afraid to reach out to entrepreneurs, people that are interested on social media. Social media is a big thing where all the entrepreneurs kind of congregate. And even if you don't think of yourself yet as an entrepreneur, like you say, hey, I don't have a company yet registered or it's not invested in, or I did not develop my application yet. Nevertheless, you're a startup enthusiast. You're there to innovate. You're there to create a change.
Indeed, absolutely. Khalid, we had a couple of questions that came through before the session through the email registration. And one of the questions asked, I think you just highlighted some of the initiatives and the supporters here in the UAE that supported your journey. Another question was about the most difficult decision that you had to take in the start of your business.
I have one. I think it was April 2018 when I was starting out Mabani at the time, and it required a lot of dedication. And I was the most fit among my team members to quit his job and become a full-timer.
Okay.
So yes, it was pre-revenue. We did not have revenue yet coming in. The application was not yet developed. It was being developed. And I needed to oversee this as well as find customers to kind of purchase the web app and the mobile app. So I took the decision to like quit my job back then, which was like a stable job, cozy, and do that leap. Unfortunately, and this is, I'll not say unfortunately, but wait, big warning here, big warning. I hope everybody's hearing me. You think it will be 2 months until you become profitable or start generating revenue. But with a startup, you never know. It's a risky business. I think until 6 months have passed and I still did not generate revenue. And then I discovered, hey, wait, I thought it was an easy thing to do. And by the way, this is not to like discourage anybody. I went to the Silicon Valley. I took an entrepreneurship program over there at Draper University. And it all came back to me like, hey, I still need to learn more. But it was a difficult decision, you know. There's a social pressure that comes with it. Hey, quitting, what are you going to do now? And then there's kind of this anxiety that builds up. Like there's a timer and there's a tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock.
Yes.
But yeah.
You just have to take the leap.
I took the leap, but it was an extended leap, I'd say. Because then I studied my master's degree in entrepreneurship. And yeah, fortunately, coming back, I was equipped to make a better decision, to be more equipped and qualified. And that was when I was able to raise capital from investors and kind of kickstart and continue the journey. Yes. But would you say that I regret the step? I don't know. I don't think I will ever discover myself or reach where I reached if I did not take the step. Now, that might not be the right step or the correct step. And I'm not telling anybody to quit prematurely.
Absolutely not. Have to take calculated steps. Khalid, there was an interesting question that came through, and I think this is also related to tech entrepreneurs. And I think the past 4 to 5 months with the global situation, it showed us really the value of technology and really the value of smartphone applications and the virtual world. So how do you see the situation right now? How do you see the opportunities for new entrepreneurs in this sector?
When it comes to, of course, like the economy has taken a downtrend, and that definitely affects any sort of transactions from happening when people are afraid. But this, I would say, this is not the first economic downturn that happens. There was the big, great dot-com bubble that happened in 2002, and people thought there were not going to be entrepreneurship anymore for the rest of mankind. But you can see that's not the case. I think things are opening up. You need to understand that entrepreneurship, its effects on the economy are huge. And the country here and the government with its benevolent leadership have recognized that. And that's why we can see a lot of initiatives such as the Minister of Entrepreneurship and SMEs. The next way, we're coming into the fourth industrial revolution, and technology is at the frontiers of where everybody's headed. And that's why there is always opportunities, especially if they're backed up by technology. And basing a company on technology, if it was at one time one of the luxuries, no, it's not anymore. It's like one of the main pillars.
Yeah. I think the thinking over there, Khalid, is about how we saw in the last 4 to 5 months how companies like Amazon, companies that do grocery deliveries, food deliveries, virtual conferencing like Zoom and Microsoft have thrived. Do you anticipate some sectors to come through this, like medical applications, delivery applications, or do you think that the playground has been saturated already throughout the 4 or 5 months.
Oh no, definitely the playground is never saturated by these things, because if you see, you said the past 4 to 5 months, and I think you're talking about the corona pandemic.
Yes.
And if we're talking about that, then we're saying that a lot of things that were based on the traditional methods have ceased to exist. Having said that, there's a lot of demand on the other side of the spectrum, which is remote-based working, delivery, last mile deliveries, etc. The digital transformation has been accelerated now more than ever. So definitely there's a lot of opportunities in the digital platforms. Actually, I have a book here that maybe I can, and I was reading in it. It's called Tech Trends in Practice. And one of the tech trends is the digital platforms, the likes of Uber, the likes of, let's say, Zoom, Airbnb. You can see Airbnb has shifted when the tourism industry just took the downtrend. They have shifted and found a lot of ways to convert technology to move things virtual. I know a dear friend of mine is based out of Toronto in Canada, and he's also leading efforts in doing dermatology using your mobile phone. Just take a picture and then utilizing AI just to give you a diagnosis and congregating all the dermatologists together. Yeah. His startup name is triage.com. Feel free to check it out.
Interesting. Yeah. That's a very interesting topic, actually. Khalid, I just want to take one final question from the online Q&A. This is saying, is there any advice to a fresh graduate in chemical engineering? After graduating, I feel like I want to go to tech and AI field, but I don't know, or will it be relevant? I think this relates to what kind of degrees will support the entrepreneurship journey of a tech entrepreneur.
Well, there's no limit. I personally come from a computer engineering background, but there's a lot of technologies that can be converted into entrepreneurship within all of the disciplinaries. For example, let's say a mechanical engineer or chemical engineer. Nanotechnology is a huge thing right now. Material science, you can see startups all over the world. They're creating sort of T-shirts that are preventing injuries. And I've seen one aspiring one in Waterloo that is working with biotech and nanotech to kind of have a vest which prevents players that are playing boxing and football, American football, from getting a whiplash or a breaking in the neck. Yeah. So definitely, but I think everybody's going to take his own journey. If you research that niche, everybody has a niche. My personal niche is kind of platforms, software platforms, mobile applications, and that sort of, let's say, startups, yeah.
Definitely, Khalid. And when you look at the, I would say the giants or the big entrepreneurs around the world, they come from different backgrounds, whether from engineering or tech backgrounds. And some of them were not coming actually from a tech background, but they led huge companies and huge startups into the technology sector.
For sure, exactly. Yeah.
Without further ado, Khalid, I think now we are at the 45 minutes mark. If there's anything that you want to add before we conclude this session.
Just that I'm honored and grateful for your hospitality. And I want to thank all the attendees for giving me their time. I'm looking forward to chatting with every single one and kind of know their aspirations. Listen, like I'll say this from the bottom of my heart. In my journey, when I was starting out and until right now, I still have people that are guiding me through the way, people that have been there for me. And it's just kind of a cycle to give that back to whomever I can. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Khalid. Won't take much of your time and the time of the audience. We thank you for being a very kind guest of the first session of the UEP Talks. And we also thank our attendees for their attendance and for their contributions, participation, and questions. And we hope to see you soon.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you very much, everyone. And stay tuned for the next sessions and the next announcements of the UEP Talks. Stay safe and see you soon, inshallah. Take care.
Thank you.